At Healthcare Partners Medical Group, our mission is to provide the highest quality of healthcare to each and every patient. With 5 locations in Pahrump, we are local doctors you know and trust. We want to thank you for choosing us. Quality care starts here.
News 46 is brought to you by Healthcare Partners. News is also brought to you by Comfort Hospice Care, where we give our patients and their loved ones peace of mind, knowing we provide the highest quality of care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For more information, call 775-751-0349. News is also brought to you by Hope Cancer Care of Nevada, providing quality cancer care in a spa-like setting. We are Pahrump's only chemotherapy center. Call 1-800-881-4226. News is also brought to you by Capriati Sandwich Shop, located in the Pahrump Nugget Casino. Call us at 775-751-3354 to order ahead.
Tonight on News 46, destroyed by fire, a family home is lost.
And young mother Megan Kimbrough succumbs to infection. 2
vehicles collided at Highway 160 in Dandelion. News 46 starts now.
You're watching KPVM News 46 with Doug Brindle and Rhonda Van Winkle. Local coverage from Deanna O'Donnell. News 46. Local coverage you can count on.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, November 13th, 2012. I'm Doug Brindle.
And I'm Rhonda Van Winkle for News 46. This morning, the Daniel Robbins murder case resumed in Judge Robert Lane's courtroom. 47-year-old Daniel Robbins is accused of murdering 21-year-old Christopher Mundy and permanently injuring a 14-year-old Pablo Flores on August 18, 2011 at the Robbins home located at 940 Benson Circle.
Daniel Robbins is claiming self-defense and that the fatal shot that killed Christopher Mundy was an accident. Mundy was reportedly asked by his girlfriend Jennifer Robbins to go to the home and retrieve her belongings. Jennifer is the adult daughter of Kathy and Daniel Robbins. She was arrested earlier in the evening for a domestic disturbance involving her sister. Chris Mundy reportedly sat in the car in the driveway of the family's home when Robbins allegedly fired one shot into the front of the car and walked up to Mundy and fired a second shot into his neck, which passed through and struck a passenger in the elbow. Today, a Nye County Sheriff's Office dispatcher testified that Daniel Robbins' wife, Kathy Robbins, only called one time that evening to report that Mundy had been shot, not 2 times as she previously stated in her testimony. A gun expert testified for the prosecution, stating that he test-fired the weapon used to kill Mundy and that the weapon is in good working order. The jury also took a trip over to the Robbins home on Benson Circle to get a first-hand look at the actual scene. Back in court, the coroner showed photos of the gunshot wound in Mundy's neck. He stated that it was inflicted at a very close range. The last witness to testify today was the doctor who is treating the 14-year-old boy, Pablo Flores. The doctor testified that the boy will never have full use of his arm and that the permanent damage has left lifelong numbness to his extremity. This afternoon, the prosecution rested. Tomorrow morning, the defense is set to begin. This is Deanna O'Donnell for News 46.
A family could only stand and watch as their home burned to the ground Saturday night on Shadow Mountain Road.
Shadow Mountain occurred at around 5:30 p.m. on Saturday evening. It reported as a structure fire from the beginning, with the occupants were egressing out of the structure. There was a language barrier experienced between dispatch and those that were on scene, but it was easily determined that they had a well-involved structure, there was nearby exposures, and that it was a serious incident. While we were en route just about on location, it was confirmed that, again, there was a fully involved single-wide manufactured dwelling. Upon arrival, we confirmed that. We immediately went into a defensive exterior attack because there was no possible way that anybody could go in the structure. The scene size-up also revealed that all occupants had safely egressed and there was no one in the structure itself. Also, the other buildings that were located on the property and next door were also evacuated as a precautionary measure. defensive exterior attack, quickly suppress or at least control the fire to the point whereas we could get the hand lines deployed and put out the rest of the fire. The investigation was commenced on scene, and it was determined that it was most likely an accidental fire, and it could be quite possible that it was caused by an electric space heater that was being used in the property and left on after the occupants had left.
This happens frequently during the winter months with these space heaters. Is it the space heaters themselves, do you know, or is it the location, or is it them coming in contact with other things?
It's really a combination of all those things. It's close proximity to being placed in nearby combustible materials such as bedding and towels, or even, quite frankly, some people place clothing items over space heaters. The real issue is know the type of the appliance you're buying, what are the safety, follow the instructions as to what and what not to do and where to place them. You always want to check for a UL tag on them, and you want to make sure that no matter what, when you leave the space, you turn them off and unplug them.
The residents of the home, or at least other homes in close proximity, were attempting to put out the fire themselves with a garden hose.
Yeah, and that's one of the big challenges we've been facing on just about every fire we have, people attempting to suppress the fires. And quite frankly, just as in most cases, one of the people that were involved in that effort sustained some smoke inhalation. And it's unnecessary. A garden hose isn't going to affect any good outcome on a fully involved structure. It just doesn't put out the gallons per minute required for any type of containment. And the fire is just going to continue to grow, and they're placing themselves in harm's way. And so then when we arrive, our first priority is life safety, so we're wasting time, in many cases, having to manage and police people and their efforts so that we can get underway with the suppression effort. Good intentions, but please, please just stay away from it. Make sure everybody's safe.
There was some chaos going on in the beginning of the structure fire going on, whether everyone was accounted for, whether people were still trying to fight the fire, kind of going back to the structure and back and forth. What would you recommend?
Everybody do what we do as the fire service. Get everyone away from the structure, meet in a central location, and have what's called a PAR, which is a personnel accountability. In other words, make sure everybody's accounted for, what was their last known location, and then have a point of contact that relays that to the fire department or the sheriff's office.
Emergency crews responded to a structure fire on the west side of town. Again, we spoke with Fire Chief Scott Lewis.
Balzar Street was reported of a smoke condition, and it was reported that a neighbor had witnessed or observed smoke emanating from the attic area of an unoccupied structure. At least they thought it was unoccupied. Well, upon our en route actually to that call, it was confirmed that they were starting to get another call reporting the smoke was now changing in color, it was darkening, and it was eventually coming from the attic space. So we dispatched it as a structure, upgraded the assignment, bringing additional engines, tenders, and myself. Upon arrival, they found, in fact, that they did have a structure fire. Lieutenant Moody, on his size up, had determined that he had a good view of a working room and contents fire that was extending into the attic. He was able to observe that from the rear of the house. They entered the structure from the front. They made a good offensive interior attack, and they stopped the forward progress of the fire in that particular area. They hooked some additional ceilings and found that they still had a fire condition in the attic, so they worked from room to room, pulled those ceilings where necessary, and extinguished the fire. They did a really good job in a timely fashion.
Is this home livable at this point?
No, I wouldn't consider it livable because it affected a lot of the house's electrical system. But there's a lot of personal property that the firefighters protected, and so there are things that can be pulled out. To my understanding, the house was idle in some cases because the family is in the process of moving to different locations.
And so nobody was actually in the structure at all?
No, it was found to be unoccupied. We didn't know that at first, so we did primary and secondary searches within the structure and found that it was in fact unoccupied.
Do you know what started the fire?
That is under investigation by the Deputy State Fire Marshal. It's believed to be possibly accidental and probability of electrical in origin, but he's continuing his efforts in that investigation.
And we'll have details of yet another fire right after the break.